After a Week 1 victory, the Washington Commanders lost their next 4 games. However, things changed after the Week 5 game. In Week 6, their starting quarterback fractured the ring finger on his throwing hand, but the Commanders did pull out a last-second win against the Bears. Carson Wentz was placed on IR, and that meant Taylor Heinicke will take over quarterback in Week 7. And he looked good. He had 201 passing yards with 2 touchdowns and was picked off once. Commanders won 23-21. One of the biggest news this offseason was that the Commanders traded for Carson Wentz. It was clear Washington needed a quarterback, but Carson doesn't seem to fit this offense. And now with Heinicke, Washington is 5-1-1. And the reality is Taylor Heinicke might end up being one of the top backup quarterbacks in this league. Unfortunately for Carson Wentz, it looks like it's all over, and I am sure the Commanders will cut him after this season. He does have 1 more year left on the contract. It really won't be hard for Carson to find a backup job in this league, but the better fit for Washington right now is Taylor Heinicke. Heinicke is not great, but he knows how to win. With Carson, this offense wasn't able to move the ball. Props to Heinicke and his leadership, the offense has looked much better. Now, I do have to admit, as a Washington fan, I'm enjoying every single second of this. The season opener was against the Jaguars, which I decided to witness the first game as the new name, the Washington Commanders, in person. The game went good, but could have ended much worse. Then, of course, the Commanders lost their next 4, and I really thought that the Commanders were going to be the worst team in the NFL this season. The other loss came in Week 9 against the Vikings and Kirk Cousins 20-17. Week after, on Monday night, the Commanders beat the undefeated Eagles, who were 9-0 at the time. Washington won 32-21. However, Washington has had close games. In Week 8, they literally won by 1 point, then beat the Falcons 19-13 in Week 12. Then a tie game at MetLife Stadium against divisional rivals the Giants. Washington will face New York for the 2nd time this season in Week 15 on a Sunday night game. The success of the Commanders begins and ends with the defense. Washington's front 7 is one of the best in the league. Daron Payne has been fantastic this season. Then you have Jonathan Allen, who has proven to be great. Chase Young is coming back from the ACL injury, who hasn't played since last season. We'll see how he plays and if he will help the defense. The defense really didn't start the season off strong, but they have turned things around. This offensive line has looked terrible. Nothing really has changed up front. The good thing about this is Taylor Heinicke can move around the pocket and escape sacks. On the other side, Carson Wentz wasn't really able to deliver that for the Commanders. The surprising part is Washington has been able to run the ball well with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. Brian Robinson was shot in the right leg twice on August 28th of 2022, just a week before the season opener. And the story this kid has is amazing. He was able to return on the field in just 5 weeks. Antonio Gibson is a much better catcher than Robinson is, but with the mix, it has worked out well. The other star has been wide receiver Terry McLaurin. This guy has been on my top 10 list since 2020. He is having another great season with 945 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Scary Terry is likely to have 3 seasons in a row with at least 1,000 receiving yards, as this being his 4th season in the league. The Commanders extended McLaurin's contract to a 3-year $68.2 million. He definitely deserves the big money without a doubt. The other big money talk is that the Washington Commanders owner Dan Snyder is exploring on selling the team, even though we've heard some big names that could possibly buy the franchise, like Jeff Bezos with Jay-Z. I am not really getting my hopes up as a fan till I see this happen, but Dan Snyder needs to go. Washington does look good for now, especially with that defense. The last 4 remaining season games are definitely not going to be easy games, but if Washington keeps playing like this, the Washington Commanders with a backup quarterback, Taylor Heinicke, could end up in the playoffs, and maybe, just maybe, they could make noise in the postseason.
My neck, wrist, and my arm. Bitch, we some stars, pull up in foreign cars.